Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's edition of the Watch Club. We're the monthly filmmaker interview series of the Newburyport Documentary Film Festival. I'm Program Director James Sullivan. We're brought to you by the Ford Hall Forum, which is the longest continuously operating public lecture series in the country. We thank them as always, and we thank you for watching and for your donations. Don't forget to subscribe to any of our social channels so you get updates on our monthly interview series. We're here today with the filmmaking team behind Andre is an Idiot. Tony Benna is the director and Lee Einhorn is the producer of this amazing, hilarious, and very powerful film about their friend Andre Ricciardi. We're gonna go ahead and show the trailer briefly for those of you who haven't had a chance to see it, and then we'll be right back with Tony and Lee.
Somewhere in here, I have Kim Kardashian's pants.
If I had to describe Andre in one word, it would be
unique, crazy,
funny, talented, insane.
My plan was to scrape her DNA and clone her.
But Andre is a brilliant idiot.
It's true. I'm a fucking idiot for not getting a colonoscopy when I turned 50.
His motto used to be no cops, no doctors.
I felt like I was getting into the best shape of my life. I lost 30 pounds, and about once a week, I would bleed out of my ass. Turns out, I had cancer.
He said it was stage 4.
It's fascinating that I am dying. One way to deal with it is to make this film.
Andre and I find humor in shitty situations.
This is sad, you gotta take this seriously. Fuck that.
We're actually having fun. And I know that sounds crazy.
Come on, kids, you wanna take your picture with anal cancer?
He comes up with crazy Andre ideas.
Donating my body's television. A head transplant.
Some of them come to be actual things.
I found deathyells.com saying you should work on your last words.
I want to go out with something powerful.
Oh, coming to get you, God!
No,
Horrible.
You have a capacity to find the comedic in everything.
As I lose weight with the chemo, I'll look better and better.
I'm looking forward to that.
Is being vulnerable weak?
No, vulnerable is being real. It's actually strong.
I've had all this anticipatory grief, and now it's really happening.
I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid for the people that I'm leaving behind.
It is beautiful, funny, and it's also very sad that you have cancer, Andre.
Southern suckers!
Yeah, that was pretty good. I feel like I taste blood in my throat.
Tony Benna, Lee Einhorn, welcome to the Watch Club.
How you doing? Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm having a bit of a audio. I can't hear you, James. I'm not sure why all of a sudden.
Oh,
I
shoot.
can hear Lee. And I could hear the trailer. Apologies.
You tell us when you're back in business, Tony. We just had Tony on before we started taping, so we should be good. Lee, you can. I'll tee you up for starters. How many times have you guys watched the trailer? And does it get old? I mean, are you like, Jesus, we've seen that thing 1,000 times?
I mean, honestly, we have seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I think we've probably collectively seen the movie close to that as well,
Yeah.
And, we've done a lot of Q&As like this. And again, thanks for having us here today.
Sure.
I think it never, we both tend to watch the film, even if we're just there to do a Q&A after. I think we both see it as a chance to hang out with Andre one more time, and I think nothing like seeing it in a theater with an audience and seeing their reaction. So I never really pass up a time to see it. And I think I was smiling watching the trailer here. I probably haven't watched it for a little bit. And every time I get to see him, honestly, it's, I feel like it's another couple minutes that I get to spend with somebody that we all miss for sure.
Right. Well, let's make clear. Oh, Tony, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So I was just asking how many times you guys have watched the trailer, which is, hundreds, I'm sure. But Lee had a great answer. We still get to, every time we watch the trailer or the full film, we get to hang out with Andre again. We should be clear to anyone who's watching this who hasn't actually seen the film yet. Lee, you were sort of a lifelong friend of Andre's. Mm-hmm. And Tony, you guys all worked in the advertising world, and that's where that the relationship came about, and his idea to make this film, right?
Right. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Lee, do you want to talk a little bit about either one of you, talk a little bit, if you can, about Andre's absurdity and how, I think I want to hear you guys talk a little bit about what kind of an advertising guy he was. I mean, there's some of that in the film. He seemed to have some of the craziest ideas in the business. And I'm just wondering if you want to talk a little bit about that. Like, why was he drawn to the ad world, the advertising world?
Yeah. You want me to go first, Tony, or you want to?
Yeah, sure. Jump in, Lee, and then I'll.
I think outside of the ad world thing first, describe Andre's absurdity. I mean, it was funny. I was texting someone today that just watched the movie last night, and they're like, wow, I'm so glad I got to meet him. I said, yeah, he was one of one. And they were like, I don't know if there's something higher than one of one to describe how different he is from everyone else in the world. But honestly, that was Andre. I mean, he knew the most absurd facts. He knew things that you would never think about or sometimes want to think about, right. But he would still feel it was important that he told you these things. And I think in all the craziness that was, the things that were in his head in his regular life, things from growing up in New York and living in San Francisco and living the experiences that you get to understand from the film that Andre lived. I think a lot of that did get reflected in his advertising work as well. I mean, we met at an ad agency before Mechanism, where we all worked. We met at, we then, I'll work together post that as well. But I'd say working with Andre in advertising, it was dangerous at times. As his partner, you were often like, you really want to show that idea where we hack into his computer and we get arrested? Because I'm not sure. I'll let Tony talk a little bit more.
Yeah, Tony, go ahead.
No, I'll echo that. I directed a lot of stuff, or a lot of the projects that Andre would pitch at Mechanism when I was there. That's how we built a relationship, and they were always crazy ideas. We'd be filming with like the guitar technician from the Rolling Stones, and somehow it's for Dove soap. But I think Andre just wanted to meet the guy, Or, I remember one time we're like in Spain, we're meeting some Formula One racer, and it's for like, I can't even remember the brand, but it was always just like something way out there. And then there was always that moment during the production where he'd be like, can you jump that fence over there and get the shot over there? And I'm like, well, it's private property. He's like, but I need the shot. And I was like, all right, whatever, we'll do it. And so he liked that. He's like, he even told me at one point, he's like, you and your friends, you and the crew aren't afraid to kind of break the rules to get the project done. But you never knew if you're going to get arrested or break a bone. And Lee and I both broke bones on this project. And so when you sign up for an Andre project, you're throwing caution to the wind.
Yeah. Lee, you knew him from what age?
We met like in our age 30, probably, something like that.
Okay. I thought it was even farther back than that. I forgot.
We met at Hal Riney, an ad agency out here in San Francisco on one of the first couple of days that he had already worked there and I had moved out. No, we met then, but honestly, it was an instant sort of like, I feel like I know you from another life kind of relationship, similar references, kids, wives that are oddly born on the exact same day, same year. So that was kind of weird too. But it was one of those like soulmate kind of moments when I met Andre, for sure.
I love what your friend said about, what's higher than one of one.
Yeah.
Andre seriously, obviously seems like a one of a kind person, but we all have someone in our lives who we've been friends with at some point who is just like, a way out there and, kind of a hard sell sometimes to other friends, or you go like, you got to meet my friend, but, be forewarned, he's a handful, Was there way before this all happened and way before the, non-colonoscopy visit and all of that, were there ways for either of you that Andre felt like he had a life wisdom to impart to you inside of all because obviously this film is about living life with a purpose. That's what it's ultimately about, being purposeful in the way you live with the time you get. Was there, maybe Lee, do you recall like sort of early on when you met him, like, Jesus, this guy's wiser than his years, as nuts as he is, he's got a lot of wisdom to impart.
Yeah, and I think for sure. I mean, I think, and Tony would agree, one of the smartest people that I've ever had be part of my life, for sure. And it was the kind of wisdom you get from books. He was an insane reader and writer, but also just like he knew a lot of stuff that you didn't necessarily need to know. either, but he would want to tell you about it. And I mean, to know Andre was to hear his stories constantly. And honestly, most of the stories he told were about things that happened to him that he would then somehow, relate to whatever situation you might be in with him. And it was funny because, as we went through the making of the film, like the story that the movie starts out with, where he's in his grandparents' bathroom, or the newlywed game. These were all stories that Tony and I had heard year after year, and always were kind of like, maybe that's true. But then all of a sudden we're looking at footage from the newlywed game. And we were like, holy shit, that was actually a thing. I think he took those same stories that he had told us over the years, just, which he would relate maybe to situations we were in, or just tell for fun or to be funny. And those were the same stories that ended up popping up in the film as well, which was pretty interesting.
It seems obvious that having made the film and now living with it and promoting it, your friend does live on to, as to the best he can. His spirit lives on with you. Are there, how do I want to phrase this? Actually, I don't know how I want to phrase that. How are Janice and the kids doing? Do they feel that similarly? Do they feel like, well, at least we still have Dad on the screen, if not in real life?
I mean, I would say that, the people I was concerned about the most are liking the film or believing, like just knowing that the portrait of Andre was authentic was Janice and the girls, of course, and Lee. I knew that I needed to paint an authentic portrait of their father and husband, and if I didn't, then it'd be a failure. And they all, since the film's come out and since the first time they've seen it, they've all been very, very happy with the way we portrayed Andre, and they said that's so Andre. The movie is so Andre. Yeah. And thank you for capturing him. And as Lee kind of said earlier with the trailer, I think that we all feel, and I think we've all kind of communicated this, and a lot of friends say the same things, is that when you do watch the movie, if you knew him, you get to spend that 90 minutes with him again. And so that's, to us, that sort of, it means that we did our job right. We didn't stray away from our character. It's more of a character piece than it is a movie about cancer in a lot of ways. Right. And I would say that, Lee and I like to joke every now and then, like, we made a movie about Andre. He just happened to have cancer while we were making it, because he would have been just as crazy and out there no matter what we were filming. And so, I think that everybody has rallied around the film, and the families come to a lot of the festivals and screenings and been very supportive. I was at a screening recently with near where Delilah's school is, and she brought like 20 friends to the theater. And it was uproarious. Their friends loved it, or her friends loved it. And it was just, for her to celebrate what her father left and what the art that we created together means the world to us,
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm just going to take a moment to say that if anybody's those of you who are watching live, if anybody has any questions for the filmmakers, just type them into the chat, and producer Steve will let me know that you have a question for Tony and Lee. So one thing that I love about the film is the claymation. I think I saw the film at another film festival in Western Mass, and was struck by. I see a lot of films, obviously, that get submitted to our festival, and I have to say that the animated portions of documentary films don't always work. Right. This stuff is fantastic, and I believe, I'm trying to remember. I feel like, Lee, you might have said you saved the claymation. Is that true?
I think Tony has both of us right
now. Yeah, I do. I actually have Andre right here if you'd like to see him.
I would love to see him, actually.
Grab him real quick.
Is he sitting on the toilet? Yeah.
He's flipping someone off right now, James.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, of course. He's always got that pose. But here is Andre.
He actually is flipping someone off. Yeah, that's so great. So who's the artist, and tell me a little bit about that process, because I don't know if you guys agree, but like, it doesn't always work. Animations of, when you need to insert it into a documentary film often enough because you don't have footage from a significant event, doesn't always work. Sometimes it works, but it works, extremely well in your film.
Yeah, thank you. I actually did all the animation in this room. I had a table back here, and I had a studio set up, and I did all the stop motion myself. I had one other animator help me for a couple of the scenes when the time crunch got really hairy right before Sundance. But the puppets we had made by this great puppet maker from the Ukraine. Her handle on Instagram is more, and they're great puppets. They look just like Lee and Andre, and I built the sets. Yeah, I think we had 6 weeks to animate all the like three to 4 minutes of animation, and so of course I didn't sleep much. But the reason we chose stop motion it happened early on. Like Andre actually met the puppet. They got to hang out a little bit.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, but he never got to see it animated,
Right.
But he was really excited about the idea of the puppet. And I think that the reason we did stop motion, or the reason I chose stop motion, was because Andre and I had worked in stop motion on some of our projects, and it was just one of those like mediums that has a lot of flaws to it. It's never perfect. It's got a, you can kind of feel the human touch in every frame and the flaw in every frame. And I feel like that's kind of Andre's life too. You can feel the flaws. He's letting us in. I just don't think if we did something like medical glossy 3D stuff of the colon, it would have fit the film. And also just Andre was talking about these crazy topics. He was talking about, 10 ways to dispose of his body. Like you can't show that. How do you recreate that? You can't use a human double for that, and so the puppet takes some of the darker humor and I think makes it funny, and it brings the comedy to it that Andre intended.
Right. I was calling it claymation. It's clearly not clay. It's stop motion, but it's not, but they're puppets. They're actual puppets, right?
Yeah, the other puppet I have here is the hairball, if you'd like to see that as well.
How do you go out into the world?
Which is actually his hair, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. How do you go out into the world and find, the right puppet maker?
I found this woman on Instagram, and I just had seen her stuff, and I saw that she was really good with hair. And Andre, a lot of his character is about hair,
Right.
And so she says that she uses Tibetan yak's fur.
Wow.
And actually, I had different hair made for different parts of his cancer journey.
Yeah.
But she swears that Tibetan yak's fur is the best material to use for someone like Andre's hair, and I didn't disagree with her. I just said that sounds great.
Sold.
So,
right.
Yeah.
It's so funny too that you're saying that, because like Andre's hair was definitely part of who people knew Andre as.
Oh yeah.
Big time. And I remember when he first, like that first night, even when he was like, told me what his diagnosis, I was like, he's going to lose his hair. And that was it's so much of his personality. And, he kind of lost it during the process. It sort of grew back different. He talks about that in the movie a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, I think it was, I feel like, obviously Tony's a master with stop motion. And, I think like, to me, you take that out of the film, because we talked about at one point, Tony, other forms of it, whatever, other animated forms, maybe
hand drawn or
I think I just think that this question comes up or comment comes up all the time. And I'm just, for me, I think it's just something that just sets it apart in such a big way. And not just artistically, but it allowed us to do what Tony said, which is to imagine some of the crazy things in Andre's brain as well.
Well, Tony, do you think you really had the idea that I love the way you just described that? Like, Andre was unique, and this makes the film unique in its own way. Did you like sort of, did you come up with that idea in your head at the time, or is that something you've hit on later on? Like, oh wow, we really lucked out by going this route with the animation.
Yeah, no, good question. I think, it either had to be stop motion or really sketchy hand-drawn animation, because Andre was so rock and roll and so rough around the edges. I just knew it couldn't be anything too slick. It just wouldn't fit. It wouldn't fit his personality. Yep. And so sketchy kind of hand-drawn animation was my backup plan if we didn't have the budget to do stop motion. But I think stop motion, because you just don't see that in a doc, and it's a unique. It's a unicorn in a doc, and Andre was a unicorn of a person. So it's like, put them together and there's going to be magic, So yeah, I had it storyboarded in the cut when we submitted to Sundance, but we hadn't done the animation. But we had photos of the puppets, and I was hoping everybody could kind of fill in the gaps with their imagination. But I think Lee and I knew what it was going to look and feel like. A little bit of Robot Chicken, kind of, It's just like, it's this limited animation, but it really does kind of fit Andre's personality.
Yeah. So do you guys want to tell me a little bit about you've had a really nice run of success since opening at Sundance last year. You are now available to rent on multiple streaming services after your theatrical run this spring, which makes you eligible, right, for Oscar consideration. You want to talk a little bit about that process and how that's gone? I mean, what kind of initial hopes did you have beyond obviously honoring Andre by finishing the film? Like, did you kind of know from the beginning, yeah, we made something pretty nice, hopefully a lot of people will see it?
Yeah.
Or has this all sort of like snowballed on you a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I'll say this: when I sent the movie into Sundance, I was actually thinking like that we didn't have a chance in the world to get into Sundance. I was actually thinking this is probably the only film I'm going to make, and I'm probably going to step away. But at least I made something for his family. But I might walk away from the industry because I'd seen it so many times I couldn't tell if it was good anymore. I think Lee and I were in the same boat, and so were our wives. Of just like, is this funny? Is this just like, do we think it's funny? And we knew Andre'd love it, but you know, it was one of those things where when we got the acceptance to Sundance, it was like, oh my gosh, like we're not totally crazy. And then I'd say the premiere at Sundance really was what, you know, what really, when people started laughing in the first 5 minutes, I think that's when we knew, okay, people get the humor, they get Andre, they're on the ride, here we go. And then since then, it just went crazy. You know, we ended up getting the audience award and the editing award at Sundance, which I didn't see any of that happening. We got critics pick in the New York Times, and right the day before our theatrical release in New York, which was serendipitous and amazing because we're literally walking into the film forum the next night and we'd gotten critics pick the day before. And it's been really well received, and the press has been amazing. They've called it the comedy of the year as a story about death. There's been so many great publications, and then the scary thing was, are we going to end up on a streamer? Can we get this out to a wider audience? And we were lucky enough in the last month, I guess, and continuing to be on multiple streamers for rent. I think Apple TV, Fandango, I think Hulu, but Prime, Amazon, and so you can rent or buy the film. And you know, I think the hope is that in the next couple of weeks we land on a streamer for the long term. And we'll see. And you know, it's so crazy. I'll just say this one last thing about this journey that during the year of the festival, we were in a lot of festivals. We won more festivals than Sundance. But what happens is, I think what people don't realize is there's so many great films that just get shelved along the way. And so I saw amazing documentaries because I would go to, you know, see other films when I'm at these festivals, and watching those films not get distribution is heartbreaking. And I was reading something earlier. It's like 80% of films that go to festivals do not get distribution. So we're so fortunate that our film got into theaters and it's on a streamer, and that we're opening to a wider audience. And I just don't think people realize how hard it is. It's like getting accepted to the festival is not the end all be all. Winning Sundance, you can still get your film shelved. As we know, actually a year ago, I think a year or two ago, the Oscar winner for the documentary didn't even have distribution after they'd won. So it's
there was a particular reason for that, but I mean, that was an extenuating circumstances. It was a subject that nobody wanted to touch, obviously, right?
Oh yeah. I just remember thinking, like, it's so crazy how films don't.
It was crazy,
placed, you know.
I mean, everything you said, and I just wanted to add in, and you kind of touched on it already, Tony, but I think because we didn't set out to go make a Sundance winning Oscar possible movie, we just set out. We took guidance from Andre. We brought our creative skills to the table. We were making this, like Tony said, for him, for his family. You know, like it was always like the worst thing that could happen is just we'd have this great film about our friend that his kids would have forever and ever. You know, we shot how many hours of film, Tony? 400,
300, 400, yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so much people haven't even seen, which his family just has still today, you know, to watch whenever. But I think we didn't set out to make it famous or anything. We just set out to follow Andre's vision, and we stayed true to it together, holding hands, no matter what, you know, until, you know, and we're still pushing it now. And, you know, our goal is to keep going until the movie world's sick of us. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Well,
and I'll add one
go
last
ahead, Tony.
thing.
Yeah.
Last thing to that is that what we also have realized. We hoped this would be the case. Is that this film's actually saving lives?
Yeah,
It's actually making a difference. And Lee and I went to DC earlier in the year to with a group called Fight CRC to lobby Congress about raising more money and to create more awareness and more research around colon cancer. And since that time, Lee and I have gotten very we're in with the colon cancer world. We're actually advocates saving other lives, and so it's not just that we made this film that's getting views, but we're advocating for people to not be idiots like Andre, get their colonoscopy.
Of course,
and it feels like it was a film we made for our friend, but now our friend who is no longer with us is saving lives, innumerable lives, which is amazing.
Yeah, and that campaign that you guys just flashed up on the screen there, that was made with our friends at Mechanism, where we all cut our teeth early on advertising days, directing and directing, and we had some money to put that out in the world in San Francisco and New York. And now we have interest from other colorectal cancer groups. They want to now help us with that campaign and make it like an evergreen thing that just goes on and on. So again, like Tony said, we're not only fulfilling the movie dreams, but also sort of the world's greatest, most entertaining PSA of get a colonoscopy. So.
I just heard something on the radio today, actually, that I believe what they were talking about was that colon cancer is now the number one form of cancer killer of under 50-year-olds.
Under 50.
That's
yep.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. More than breast, more than lung, everything. Colon cancer has a higher mortality rate for people under 50 than any other cancer right now.
Right.
It's one of the only ones too. Like most cancers are going this way. Colon cancer happens to be going up right now too. And a lot of it, it's all about getting screened when I think the age is what now, 45 or 46 is what they're recommending.
Yeah.
But yeah, as Andre says, there's a great way not to have to get chemotherapy every 2 weeks. Just get a colonoscopy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Lee, you just mentioned you're going to keep promoting until the film world gets sick of you. That leads me to one of my last questions this is for Tony. It sounds like you were sort of saying, I might, just make this one doc and then be done. But it also, you kind of, I think, left the door open to say okay, now we've done pretty well with this one. Why shouldn't I make another documentary? Are you thinking about it?
Yeah. Actually, I had a couple of pitches today. It's funny. I was literally telling my dad, this is the last film. I think I'm done with film. I think I'm going to go back to I don't know, construction or whatever I did when I was younger. Wow. I've done 20 years in film, and maybe it's just not for me. I literally got the text like an hour later that we got accepted to Sundance.
Oh, wow.
My dad was like, well, "He's still gonna, whatever you're
what
thinking about film now."
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, maybe things have changed." But no, I think Andre left me with getting into Sundance and how well the film's done. I think that it's.
I didn't run from it or try to.
Yeah. Sorry, we're just.
No, go ahead.
No, I just was hoping Steve was going to shut the audio off on that. Go ahead, Tony.
Oh, and I'm just going to say, I'm pitching on doc ideas and narrative ideas at the moment. So we'll see what's next.
Great. So obviously Andre left you guys with a gift. I think that I think we're all looking forward to seeing what you do next for sure, Tony. And I also think that I think you guys talked about this at the screening that I saw in Western Mass, that most people, when they come up to you after they first see the film, say something like, the first thing I did was called my loved one. I called my wife, my partner, my kid, whatever, because life is short. And that clearly is expressed well in this film. Is that, am I remembering that right? Did you guys talk about that? And is that sort of I would imagine that's an ongoing theme for you about people who've watched the film. That's their first response. I got to call my my significant other, whoever that might be.
I mean, I think the film definitely acts as a reminder. We've definitely had people come up and say that to us. I know speaking for myself, I think, that's one of the personal themes for me that I've gotten from this experience, is to sort of, how I look at death and dying and how I look at living. Cause I think, Tony says this better than I'm going to say it, but, I think Andre looked at this as like, oh no, I only have 4 years to die, before I die. It's, I have 4 more years to live. What can I do with that time? And I think I think, yeah, it's about, keeping family close. It's about all the things that, even Andre had a hard time with sometimes. He talks about his family dynamic and with his dad or brothers or whatever. But
sure.
Yeah, certainly a theme that for us, but certainly a theme for people that have seen the film as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just to add to that, I think the other theme in the film that's there is what Andre allows us to do when you watch the film is he allows us to have conversations about these harder subjects in a lighthearted way. And if we can, I think when friends, we know people that get cancer or get sick, we tend to send our condolences or, gifts, and then we're not sure how to connect with them again. Whereas if you watch this film, it kind of opens the conversation up again. Not that we all have to be as funny as Andre, but if you watch the film with family and friends, it's kind of like we should all be like Lee and Andre. We should not change our relationship just because you're sick. We should act exactly the same. And so I hope that, that message is out there and it's connecting people that are maybe distant because of, somebody that's gotten sick.
The awkwardness. Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah. Well, that is clearly the case. And this is a beautiful film. I really love it. And I'm happy that we're taking another opportunity to kind of push for it and get some more people to watch it. So congratulations to you guys. And thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks for having us, James. Appreciate it.
We're just going to say thanks once again to our sponsor, and we'll see you next month in the Watch Club.